So, during the previous financial earnings, Nintendo said something a bit strange. They said the successor is coming. We don't want to tell you about it, but it's coming. But they also said something they usually never say, which is, there's a direct coming, and we're going to tell you way in advance. They specified June. And right now, there's a lot of cadence going around about it being on the 18th, Tuesday. And Live Audience was just telling us, not only was there an Among Us trailer that was posted too early, but it featured Switch button prompts. So that is likely going to be in the presentation, and it likely is going to be on the 18th, being Tuesday. But let's not predict about when the Direct is going to be. Let's predict about what's going to be in the Direct. And Derek, I want you to kick me off with something good. I don't want to know about a known quantity. Any game that's already announced, I don't want to hear about that right now. I want something fresh.
Oh.
Do you have anything
something
for me?
Fresh? You know what? I don't have a lot that I consider fresh because this is the sort of the wrap up. We are winding down the Switch with the Switch 2 coming. But I've noticed a pattern with Nintendo, and I don't know if it'll happen or anything like that. I highly doubt it, but I'm going to toss it out there nonetheless because we got a remake of Super Mario RPG. We got a remake of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
I think I see where this is going.
I think it's time for the hat trick. I think it's time for a Mario and Luigi remake. And you know what? Since we went from we skipped Paper Mario 64 and went to Thousand-Year Door, let's make it Partners in Time. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time finally gets a proper remake. We get Mario, Luigi, the babies, time travel, all of it in fresh, sweet-looking 3D. Why not? There's my blow your socks off prediction. A Mario game. Yeah, the most unknown quantity.
It would be nuts, though. Like the developer, Alpha Dream, is no more. And with the previous remakes, they were using assets from existing games like Dream Team. Whereas this would be something done from the ground up. Like, we've never had an HD style for Mario and Luigi, so what would that even look like? Who would even make it? But with all that said, I can still see it happening. Because they're doing crazy stuff. They shouldn't have done two RPG remakes like months apart from each other, but they did, and they both stuck the landing. So yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah, Mario and Luigi can come back.
I think it's possible. I don't think Alpha Dream is necessary. I think Nintendo has other teams. They could definitely do it. But whether or not they capture the magic, that's another question entirely. It's hard to say. But I feel like they would probably put some care and attention into it. And, Partners in Time has its issues, but it's also everybody's questioning. We got Superstar Saga. We got Bowser's Inside Story. Why did you skip Partners in Time when that's the one that arguably needed it the most? And I think it would be a mistake to do Superstar Saga or Bowser's Inside Story again. So let's not do that. Also, let's not have a plus whatever's journey involved. We don't need that.
I thought Thousand Year Door would do that with the Luigi, but they didn't do it. With this one, I can't recall exactly if it's been said publicly or not, because I know someone who's done a preview for Luigi's Mansion 2 was going to reveal something about the game, but no one else did. So I'll say it in very vague terms, in that Grezzo is not doing the remaster for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Someone else is, which means Grezzo is free. And Grezzo have been known for Zelda remasters, like Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening. They also did Triforce Heroes, and then they did Miitopia for some reason. And they went so hard on it too with that crazy Mii Maker. But they've also did their own IP with Ever Oasis. And so this is a question for you and the live audience. What is Grezzo doing right now?
The easiest thing to claim would be the Oracle games. But we can also piggyback off that and maybe it would be Mario and Luigi.
They could be the Mario and Luigi developers.
It's entirely possible it could be Mario and Luigi. Honestly, they feel like they'd be a pretty good fit because they saw the art style they came up with Link's Awakening. So why not have a fun new art style for Mario and Luigi? I don't know.
I'm going to echo Professor Bonk in live audience. I think we've had enough remasters of Zelda games right now. We've gone so long without a 2D game. The last one was A Link Between Worlds, and that was a game, as great as it is, it's a game that owes everything to A Link to the Past. And we haven't had a fully original setting 2D Zelda game since Spirit Tracks, I want to say. I guess you could say Triforce Heroes. But I think it's time that Grezzo are trusted, because they did a good job with Triforce Heroes, and Ever Oasis was great. I think they have a lot of talent on their team. I believe they come from Secret of Mana talent, if that's... correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think they do.
I think you're right on that one. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But
so I think they can do a fully... I think they can be trusted as the 2D Zelda team. And that I don't think that would contradict a new console either, because I don't think you would buy a big 4K, next-gen handheld for 2D Zelda. I think you can pull it off on the Switch right now.
Well, I have a question for you. Would you want traditional 2D Zelda? And I think that's the obvious answer, that's what you absolutely would want. Or how do you feel about them taking the engine and ideas of Ever Oasis and applying that to a Zelda?
Ooh, that would be interesting. I think regardless, people will be happy with that old style of Zelda persisting, because as great as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are, it clearly isn't a replacement to the old style of Zelda, and people want that. And I think that can continue. The obvious answer is 2D, because that's so distinct from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You can just keep doing the old formula through that. I think that's what I'd prefer. I think muddying the 3D styles of Zelda might not bring the best consistency.
And I feel most people would want traditional, but I kind of like the idea of mixing up even further, just because it seems to be Nintendo's MO with a lot of things. Like, what if it's traditional 2D, but then when you target an enemy or something, it just swishes down to a behind the back idea, and then you have a different combat style or mini game style sort of thing that you can use that extra horsepower for, that you don't need for the 2D visuals. It can just do something crazy with it. I don't know if that's how feasible that is or anything like that, but I mean, I'd still be happy with just a new traditional Zelda game. You
want them to Super Paper Mario it, flip it 3D.
Ooh. Yeah, now we're talking.
All right. So we've gone for some higher tier games. I've got a lower tier one, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while, but then a fan went and made Modern Chef. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but it's a fan recreation of Chef, the Game & Watch Gallery game, or the Game & Watch game.
Yeah, that.
And they've made some beautiful 2D art, and it just... I've wanted a new Game & Watch Gallery for a while. The last one was on GBA, and I think the potential of what you can do on modern systems with that would be crazy good. And I think ND Cube would be a good position for that, who did Clubhouse Games. They did really cool art styles for recreating just boards and realistic looking sets, and I think they could make a realistic looking Game & Watch model, but then also make a Mario Party style remake of all those games too. I think that's just a really it wouldn't be crazy high budget, but it's something I'd love to see, because it's been so long since Game & Watch Gallery. It's
great for a final year as you're winding down things. A project that's not too expensive, has its own sort of ideas for it, because in the same way, we have Nintendo World Championship NES edition coming out. That is certainly of that same caliber. Whether or not somebody are interested in it, and that's another thing to say entirely. I do expect to get a bit more info on that, though. As another off prediction. But yeah, I think something along those lines makes sense, just because it is one of those not low effort but less intensive games.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend to be a Game & Watch enthusiast. I love the Gallery series, but there aren't that many Game & Watches I've actually played in my life. And I think that's true for most people. Look, if you weren't born in that era, you probably don't have Game & Watch nostalgia. And they've not really tried to push it outside of those Mario and Zelda systems a few years back. But Game & Watch Gallery, that's Mario. You just remake all these games with Mario assets, and suddenly I think people will care.
Yeah, I mean, I amazingly did have a Game & Watch growing up. I had I forget what it was called, but it was the one where you're in a boat and you had to catch parachuters.
I know the one you mean. I don't know what it's called. Is it just called Parachute?
It might just be Parachute. It totally could be that. Yeah, I don't know, but I did pick up the old Game & Watch Gallery games, and it did give me that little blast of nostalgia back in the day. It's oh yeah, I remember this and all these games, and it gives you more appreciation for Mr. Game & Watch as being part of Smash Brothers and that sort of aspect. And I don't know, do you think it's more interesting for them to keep it to just Mario, or to just make it a celebration of Nintendo in general, and just applying each one as necessary, or like we have this game, or like instead of for Parachute, Pit keeps losing his wings, or the Centurions keep losing their wings, so you got to catch them somehow.
That'd be cool.
I don't know.
And like Chef could like star Kirby or something instead.
Yeah.
And like there's a Zelda Game & Watch. I was actually capturing this recently for Game & Watch Gallery Advance, because they include the Zelda Game & Watch as just its regular form, but there's no remake for it. So if you were to remake that, you could have like a Zelda 2 style Link in 3D or something. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But let's not spend too much time on Game & Watch Gallery though. Have you got anything else for me?
All right. I have to give this one because I am honestly, this is just a major hope for me, but it also makes sense because it was talked about. But it is a known quantity, although it's mostly unknown at this point. Dragon Quest III HD 2D. I think we're finally going to see it here. Maybe even get a release date, but at least see it. I think that is almost a guarantee.
So there was a lot of talk about this not just being 3 and it being 1, 2, and 3. Do you believe that?
I would make sense to why it all of a sudden took so long. They decided they decided to get more ambitious with it. And I think it's also something those games would benefit from, because I still think the original Dragon Quest is perfectly playable and a lot of fun, but adding more context, maybe a little more content to it, give it a little bit more guidance to people, I think would help out a lot. And, more help to Dragon Quest 2 is always a good thing. So, just to help that out. But as it's a trilogy. It's just like you could call it Dragon Quest 3 or Dragon Quest the Erdrick trilogy or something like that, because it all is the same timeline and build off each one another extremely well.
Yes.
So it makes sense that's why it took so long, is that just blew up.
Yeah. For the most part, like Dragon Quest titles don't really connect, but the original trilogy, if you play them in chronological order, you definitely get something out of it. You definitely get like little winks to the other one, or just things that pay off better if you've played them all. Mm-hmm. So I think it makes sense. And plus, just in terms of just like SEO for the eShop, there would be 2 Dragon Quest 3s, because there's already a Dragon Quest 3 on the Switch. So it makes more sense to have a Dragon Quest trilogy rather than like 2 different games with the same title in.
Mm-hmm. My hope is if, let's say this is still not coming out in this year, or it's early 2025 or something like that, my hope is that they maybe try to tie people over by putting here's Dragon Quest 4, 5, 6 on the system, or even just here's 7 and 8 or something like that. Just get more Dragon Quest on this system. It makes sense, but they have not done it, and I'm sad.
Yeah, I don't know if this is, I don't know if the development pipelines add up, but I'd also love a Dragon Quest Builders 3 to coincide with Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. The potential for that's crazy, like making your own party, like just building your own classes and everything, and I think that'd be nuts, but I don't know if they're going to do it at this point. I don't think it adds up in terms of like what Koei Tecmo can do, but if they did, love it, But I have another one though, for a Nintendo IP. It kind of, I've been saying this for a while, but it kind of feels like it's time for Rhythm Heaven, and I've written down Rhythm Hell.
Rhythm Hell. Rhythm Heck. This is Nintendo.
But it's the end of the system's life. It's something that won't, blaze the next console. Like no one's going to be buying the Switch 2 for a compilation of 2D rhythm games. And like Gold was so good, but we've not had an HD game before. And just sort of taking that style and putting it on the Switch, it's a perfect mix. And it's also like it's a good local game too, like just ripping off a Joy-Con, handing it to someone else, playing at the same time. I think it makes sense.
No, I completely agree with that. It's nice, simple. Again, that's what I'm looking more towards as we sunset this. Like, I do expect ports and stuff like that, or just simple ones. But yeah, I think Rhythm Heaven makes a lot of sense. And you know what? I'll tie it into another prediction I have for this, that maybe it'll be the compromise. Maybe not the one everybody wants, but it's a possibility. I think we'll get a few more NSO games out of this. next set, and they could easily make it the rhythm, like what was it, Rhythm Tengoku?
Oh, that'd be sweet. Yes.
Put that on the GBA NSO.
Yeah, we have everything they've announced now, right? There's no upcoming titles.
There is no upcoming ones. All from this point on, it's just all shocks. So we don't know what they could. We have ideas of what they could put, but I mean, they could go all out if they want. But I expect just like a set amount, or if they really want to go crazy, they could put in another system. But I can't imagine. At this point, I think it would only be either the best candidates are either the Master System or the TurboGrafx 16.
I was going to say TurboGrafx, yeah. Either Game Gear or Master System makes sense. But there's a lot of N64 and especially GBA and Game Boy games they can add. They usually advertise N64 and GBA a long time in advance. N64 can have Smash and Diddy Kong Racing. GBA can have Metroid Zero Mission and A Link to the Past 4 Swords. That'd be an awesome multiplayer game.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so much you can do. But we can literally predict NSO forever because there's an endless amount of games that can come. So let's keep the train flowing. We talked about this one in the previous predictions, and that is Fantasian. We know it's coming. It's got Steam listing somewhere. It's been avoiding us for now, but we're going to keep bringing it up until it eventually shows itself. So, Fantasian. Yeah, I think it's going to appear now. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Wasn't there some sort of rumor about more Apple Arcade games getting ported? Could it be Fantasian? It could be like Sonic. Like you covered a bunch of Apple Arcade games. What are the ones would make for good candidates to get ported?
So yeah, Fantasian and Sonic, they're the big ones. There was a cool Bomberman game. Do you remember seeing that one? It was Bomberman, the Amazing Bomberman is what it was called. And it's like a lo-fi Bomberman where there's just this really great music in the background, and there's like a visualizer on the actual board itself, and the bombs go off in time with the music. That'd be amazing. I know there's like a Hello Kitty game that's really popular on Apple Arcade. I didn't play that one for the video, but I know it's popular over there.
I'm not sure of that one. I don't know about Bomberman because I don't know how well R2 did, but maybe. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's, again, another just simple port, so I guess it's not as much risk, especially if you just make it digital only. Hard to say on that one, but I'd love to see Fantasian. I've been waiting on Fantasian to arrive.
Yes.
So, yeah. Give me that.
It probably is too early for Puyo Puyo Puzzle Pop. That game's not even finished. I was under the impression that would be a finished game when I played that, but they're drip feeding it in like an early access. So I think when that game's actually finished, it probably will get ported, but nah, not yet.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Speaking of rumors, I'll go off of this one, and it's been rumored for a long time. Will it actually happen? I don't know, but I'm going to put it out there anyway, just because it makes for a nice swan song, potentially. It could also make for a nice first-year game for the Switch successor, but I'll say that for now it's going to be on the Switch. Are we finally going to see Kid Icarus Uprising get its remake?
I hope so. I really, really hope so. It deserves it. You know, the 3DS online services have gone. I think they must recognize that this was a very popular multiplayer game. And it'll be delightful on whatever system it goes to. I don't care if it's Switch 1 or Switch 2. I just want it to happen. I don't know. I don't know who would even make it. I guess Bandai Namco is the obvious choice.
Right.
Yeah. I know Forever Entertainment are making a Nintendo IP. They confirmed this like 4 years ago. Yeah. They did like the Panzer Dragoon remake and the House of the Dead remake. I don't want them doing Kid Icarus Uprising, but I wish them luck with whatever they're doing.
They also did the Front Mission 1 and 2. I think they're also working on 3. So I've not heard a bunch on any one of those, but maybe
it could be them. It could, under Nintendo's direction, I think they probably are capable of good stuff. But yeah, I think my gut says Uprising probably isn't happening now, but the chances aren't zero though. It could always happen.
Mm-hmm. True. Well, I guess the next big question I have for you though is the one that I think is on a lot of people's mind. Will we see Metroid Prime 4?
I it's crazy that I still don't know. This game's been in development for like what? I think it rebooted in 2019. I want to say
something like that.
Yeah, so there's like a 5-year game, and then plus the original development. It should be nearly ready, but I don't know if this is. You know, I'll say yeah. This is the final. Yeah? We're finally going to see it. Yeah. Okay. But we know the tech is there. Like Prime Remastered is probably the baseline of what the tech is working on. On my list, I wrote down Prime 2. I didn't even consider Prime 4.
I mean, I guess that says a lot. I think if we don't get Prime 4, we'll definitely get Prime 2.
Yeah.
Will it be done in the same way as Prime 1 remastered? That's the bigger question, because I don't know.
I mean, if they're doing Prime 2, then they're probably working their way through the remasters of like Prime 3 as well. So that I don't know what that says when Prime 4 releases, unless they do 2 and 3 together, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah. But then you also got to do Federation Force, because there was a teaser for Prime 4 at the end. You got to do them all.
I mean, technically you got to do Hunters, because that's where the big guy, the guy they're setting up for Prime 4 is from.
Psylocke doesn't do anything in Prime 2, in Prime 3 or Federation Force. He's strictly just a Prime Hunters character.
Yeah, he shows up at the end of Hunters, not Hunters, but of Federation Force. Yeah. And there's your tease for what Prime 4 is going to be about.
In Prime 3, it's like it's his ship is following Samus, and in Federation Force, he's grabbing a Metroid. And that's all we know of Psylocke, and he's built up as like this decade, 2-decade-long hype cycle.
And I've never played Hunter, so I know nothing about Psylocke himself.
Yeah, will Psylocke deliver? We'll see. But I think the chat's fairly split on whether we're going to see Prime 4. I think most don't seem to believe it, but. Even I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same way that people have turned on like Silk Song, because everybody's like, oh, this would be a perfect time. Oh, this would be a perfect time, and then it just keeps not showing up. So now it's point of like, whatever. If it shows up, it shows up.
Yeah.
I think there will be immense hype once it's shown, but I think people have just sort of like, it's time to go numb.
Yeah. Live audience says Samus Returns. You know, I'd love Samus Returns HD. I think right now they probably don't want to flood Metroid too much, and if they are building something else, it probably will be Prime remasters at this point.
What would Mercury Steam be working on at this point?
Metroid 6, I guess.
Maybe either Metroid 6 or the two remaining candidates for remakes are Super and Fusion. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but if you asked me this question about Super like 5 years ago, I would have told you that game doesn't need a remake at all. I still don't think it needs one, but it's not in line with everything else right now. Like Zero Mission, Samus Returns, and then Dread and Fusion. They all have a very connected control scheme, whereas Super is kind of like very floaty compared to them. So I kind of would like to see Super done.
I think it's finally been enough time people can sort of see how they've advanced beyond Super Metroid, because Super Metroid for the longest time was just the gold standard, and now, you know, it's ready to go. You know, it's like okay, I'm okay with the idea of Super Metroid getting a remake, especially if it's handled by the Dread devs.
Yeah. For my next prediction, I've written down, I don't truly believe this, but I think this IP will appear. I put Kirby and the Flippin' World. With a Kirby platformer, I don't think it needs to arrive in the first year of the Switch too, because then it would be competing with Mario, and HAL don't need that. I think they're better off in their own platforming bubble. And I think they probably could deliver a Forgotten Land sequel right now if they're building off, you know, the foundation of the last game. But if not a Forgotten Land follow-up, then a spin-off. And I've always wanted a Kirby RPG, and I've been thinking about how that exactly would work.
That'd be wonderful.
It'd be great to have like regular Kirby enemies as party members, but like Kirby is kind of like a monster catching mechanic where like he has a chance of like inhaling in one of the enemies, and like they can hold on to something so they don't get him. But if it works, then he inhales them and gets their ability, and that like changes his class. And I think that would be rad.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because Kirby famously sunsets a lot of Nintendo consoles. He just makes sense as like one of the last ones that get put out on any one console. And I love a Kirby RPG. That'd be a lot of fun. They have a lot of side characters they can pull from at this point as, what was it? Not Superstars. It was one of the Kirby, the friendship one that first came out on the Switch.
Oh, Star Allies, yeah.
Star Allies. I always want to say friendship, and I was like, that's not the title. But yeah, we saw all the DLC characters for Star Allies and seeing how much more they could go beyond with that. Or they could go the very simple route, and here's Planet Robobot or Triple Deluxe HD.
Robobot HD feels kind of likely. When was Return to Dreamland Deluxe? Was that this year?
I think it was last year.
It was
last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think something new to sort of fill that gap between remaster and new would be nice. But I'd love Robobot in HD. That'd be amazing.
Robot's my favorite Kirby, so yeah, I'm down.
Very, very nice. In terms of more sort of middle ground stuff, I don't know where this one fits actually. So I've written down Wario Land, and because like we just had Mario Wonder last year, and again with the successor, Wario Land isn't gonna make people buy a new console. You need like 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, Smash, Mario Kart. Wario Land, I feel like could be done. We know that Goodfield did Peach, but they also finished it way in advance. That's something a lot of Nintendo developers have been doing. Like we figured out that Thousand Year Door was done like a year ago, so that intelligent systems are probably primed on something else. But Goodfield did that, and also that Goemon successor, which I forget the actual title to, but it's untranslated. So I'd love to see them try Wario Land again, and I hope they don't go back to Yoshi. Because as good as Woolly World is, I think I'm Yoshi down. I want to return to Wario Land.
Yeah, it's been too long since we've gotten our last Wario platformer, and to see that return in whatever style they want to do, I think would be a lot of fun. They can make a lot of people immediately happy by having Waluigi involved in some way.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities with that. I personally love Wario Land, and even if they go simple and just like, okay, here's a HDified Wario Land 4, I think people would still be really excited for that.
Yeah. I would say that NSO could be a sign of that, but like there's like one Wario Land on Game Boy NSO anyway, and it's the third one for some reason. Like, the third one's great, but like I don't know where you start with it.
I don't know.
Live audience. Is Waluigi canon? Is he canon to Mario?
Not technically, because of all the spin. He's only showing up in spin-offs, so yeah, that's odd. That said, you did mention intelligent systems, and that reminded me that there is the long-rumored Genealogy of the Holy War remake.
Yeah,
could we finally see that?
I don't see
why
why not.
It's somewhat likely. Yeah.
Intelligent Systems is another one where like Engage was done like a year before it shipped. So they've either got something cooking up for the successor, or they've got something finished already. I don't know, but it feels like a good swan song game though, much like how Shadows of Valentia was.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect. That's the interesting thing, is that there's rumors about all these games like having been done far in advance. It's almost like Nintendo was stockpiling them for this final year. So this feels like the time that they would show off these games in order to have a somewhat strong lineup to end off the Switch, while also building up the Switch successors lineup.
Yeah,
it's not a bad idea.
Because I think when big games release for the Switch now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, what a waste. But like these developers, they finished them ages ago. So they're already working on, or maybe even finished their next game already. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if whatever follows, like the next Paper Mario, I wouldn't be shocked if that's nearly done. Because like Thousand Year Door, one, it's a remake, so it wouldn't have taken like all their resources. And also it was done a year ago. So like, they probably already finished whatever's next. But yeah. I think like Genealogy of the Holy War is always likely. It could be now. There's usually a direct in like September as well. It could be then, but it's got to be coming.
You would think. It just makes the most sense. I feel like it. I don't know. It just seems like a home run. In that same way. By the same idea, I don't think we're going to see anything from Monolith Soft. I think they're going to wait till the Switch successor.
I think the only thing we could see is Project Cross Zone, which we've predicted like 5 times now. But
like a Cross Zone 3 or a Cross Zone collection or something like that.
I'd like 3. I think Sonic never made his way into Project Cross Zone. I want to see Sonic interact with like Mio or something. I don't know. But yeah.
Klonoa made it in, but not Sonic.
Yeah. They're not going to reveal Xenoblade 4. They're not going to reveal anything else. But like Cross Zone is small enough to make that gap. I had a Bandai Namco remaster written down. We're always predicting Xenosaga. Xenosaga made sense back when like Future Redeemed came out, because that would have made so much sense. But instead they did Baten Kaitos. But Bandai Namco had that sort of remaster spree with like Pac-Man World, with Baten Kaitos and some other games. And I've written down either Pac-Man World 2 repack or Xenosaga, and I don't know what one's more likely.
The easier is probably Pac-Man. Let's be honest. I think depending on how hard they go, because Xenosaga is tricky because the art style changes with every game.
It does,
so, do you make a collection and just sort of leave it as is, and here's it is with a few new features and maybe some small quality of life improvements? But, but it's also like, these are older games. They probably hold up pretty well visually, but I think they might need a little massaging than most. So
yeah,
that's the tricky thing with that one.
It's interesting, like with Klonoa, Pac-Man, and Baten Kaitos, they kind of redid a bunch of stuff. The core is there, but they remodeled everything pretty much. So I think they'll probably make a bit more consistency. But with that said, Pac-Man World 2 is a lot more beloved than Pac-Man World 1, and I think they probably know that, and I think they could deliver something cool with that. But yeah, I think like another third-party collection I had in mind, again, I have this in mind a lot, is the Resident Evil Classic Trilogy, or Saga, if you include Code Veronica. And I know there's going to be a comment saying, like, Resident Evil 1's already on the Switch. Like, no, it's a different game. They are different games.
No, we need to have the original. Trust me, it's so different to go have 1, 2, and 3 and compared to 1, 2, and 3 remake. Yeah.
One remake, even though it's like the same style and the same like core gameplay, they are very different games, not at all similar. And they'll be delightful. When Tomb Raider, the trilogy, came out like a few months ago, it was charting at number 1 on the eShop. So I hope that sparked something in Capcom. Like, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah. I had a collection on here, but I couldn't decide whether or not it was. I love the Resident Evil one. I'm mad I didn't think about that because it's such a brilliant idea. But I was stuck between either us finally getting the Castlevania DS collection, which, yes please, or will Capcom finally pull the trigger on a Mega Man Legends collection?
Please. And we've got one out of the way now.
We have Star Force and Legends.
Yeah. Game Boy's not in, like, that can't happen now.
Yeah. We got our Game Boy collection technically.
Yeah,
I'm all about that. So yeah, let's do Legends.
Yep, Legends 1, Legends 2, Trombone, and then that 3DS 3 demo that they made and didn't release.
Yeah. So I'd be all about that. I'd be popping off hard.
Yes, very, very much so. Legends is I like Mega Man, but Legends is so far higher than any other Mega Man series in my eyes. It'd be delightful.
Man of taste.
Well, we can keep throwing stuff out there. Do you have anything else on your mind, Derek, or are we starting to run a bit thin?
I think there's only one really major, two. I have actually two I have left. I think, and I guess Kid Icarus could fall into this idea, but I think another developer in the same vein as Cadence of Hyrule could be handling a Nintendo property for a smaller release. I think that would be interesting. If that, like, Nintendo is just like, here's a smaller title, make a little thing for yourself, and put it out there. Similar to Cadence, and
get the Celeste team on Ice Climber.
There you go. Now we're talking. Perfect.
Yeah, that'd be
or the one everybody always talks about. I forget the developer's name, but the one the ones who do the futuristic racer, get them to finally make an F-Zero.
Oh,
That's
Sheenan.
the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be so down for that. I was super bummed that Cadence of Hyrule was a one-off, because that's so much potential for other developers to try. But yeah, in terms of filling that. We've had a trend of another Code and Famicom Detective Club and Advance Wars, remaking niche games, giving them a chance through a remake. And I have 2 written down, and one is more likely than the other, I think. But I guess it depends on what the developers are doing. So I've written down Starfy Reborn and Golden Sun. Now we have Golden Sun on NSO. But I don't think that really matters that much, because Link's Awakening is also on NSO. And I think we all want Camelot to return to Golden Sun. The Mario Sports games, but they can still pull them off. I think Aces is great, but they had something very special with the first 2 Golden Sun games. And I think if they are to revisit the series again, I'd like for them to rediscover their roots rather than just try a new one first. And a remake feels like a done deal for that. But Starfy is done by Toze, and I think they're probably a more free development team than Camelot is right now. And I could see Starfy coming back. I feel like it kind of fits into that strange field of another Code and Famicom Detective Club.
Mm-hmm. See, when you were saying those games, I did not think Starfy or Golden Sun. The one that came to my mind was Custom Robo.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I'm like, Custom Robo has a chance. I don't know. I've never played one, but I can see it kind of clicking with people if they do it right. I don't know. I don't know on that one. But you're right. It would be cool to see them have another one of those in that vein. My last prediction, just to toss it out there, I don't think it's too exciting, but I think it fits the whole smaller idea. Plus plenty of time to do it. New Mario Party. We obviously didn't get Superstars DLC, another Mario Party. I think it's probably going to happen.
Yeah. I don't think we need Superstars 2. I think just something original. They've done that twice technically with the top 100 and then Superstars. I think we got to quit living in the past, move on, brand new game. Hopefully,
but keep the better maps, keep the better boards.
Superstars had a lot of good quality of life stuff, like making the pace faster and just being able to drop out of the game and go back in online day one. All of that stuff. Keep the core gameplay, but just have brand new maps, brand new exciting mini games. I like as much hate as Super Mario Party gets. Those mini games are great.
Oh yeah,
I'd love them to keep that going. But also, Super was quite unfocused, where it had all these sub-games, and none of them were that exciting. Just focus on the core.
I think they realized, at least critically, they got a lot more reception. Super Mario Party obviously sold better, but it's also, the first ones is what everybody picks up. Especially just casual fans. We already have a Mario Party. We don't need another one type thing.
Yeah, I think that might have been pretty much my last game too. There's another one on here, but it's not a very climactic ending. I wrote down Pull Blocks, which is Pushmo.
Oh yeah,
I think it would be nice.
That'd be cool.
There was a live audience comment earlier, I think from Professor Bonk, saying that on Intelligent Systems' website, Pull Blocks has reappeared, as in their IP lineup. So it would be nice. It's a very good game, and there's no way to play it now. 3DS and Wii U are gone.
The Nintendo Digital Collection, put in the Pushmo games and put in the Dylan's Rolling Western games. There you go.
Yeah. You can also get a Box Boy in there, because we only have one of them now on the Switch.
That's true.
Yeah. But we can keep predicting forever. We've got a lot of Nintendo stuff in there. There's obviously always a good third-party balance, and we've predicted some collections, but it's endless.
There's so many things they could do. Just to toss another Capcom collection out there, just because of the recent news for Street Fighter 6. Why not? Let's get a Capcom versus SNK collection or remake in there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. On that note, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has also been heavily demanded. There was an arcade cabinet re-release, I believe, not that long ago. So clearly it can happen, and I wonder if that's ever on the cards.
I don't know. I mean, with the popularity of X-Men 97, honestly, it might not be a bad idea to have a collection of like X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Superheroes, and then the versus games.
Yeah, I'm down. Very down. You know what? Let's end it there. That's a good last prediction. Yeah. And I think it's fairly realistic. Yeah, one other Capcom fighter I've always wanted, and I think the time's gone now, but like Street Fighter 4 would have been a really nice one to have like near the beginning of the Switch. But I guess it's kind of a legacy game now. We've had 5 and 6 since then, but Switch just doesn't have like a modern Street Fighter. There's no 3D Street Fighter on the Switch.
Yeah, not yet. But I feel like there's a lot they can do. I mean, there's a lot of like Capcom 3D fighting games that we never got. Like Where's Our Power Stone and Rival Schools and whatnot. So
all this stuff. Yep, 100%. But we're gonna end it right there.
Capcom can put out so many collections.
Live audience, just spout a bunch of games that you want to see while we wrap this up, because I'm sure there's so much. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and we will likely see you on Tuesday the 18th. That might not be the day at all, but that seems to be the date the director's airing, and we'll see how many of these game predictions actually come to fruition. I'm pretty excited for this, to be honest. I don't know what to expect. My expectations aren't sky high, but I think we're at an interesting point where like the big stuff's being reserved for the next system. And the more wacky and niche stuff is probably what we're going to see, and I like that stuff. So yeah, well, I guess we'll find out really soon, though. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. And if you want to be in that little box down there in live audience, you can. You can just support us over on Patreon, and you can join the live audience tier and join any discussions as they're being recorded. You can contribute to them via texts and everything. Right now, Mooby Muffin is saying they're on the Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD Copium. We didn't even mention those. I kind of don't expect them at this point. I don't know why.
I don't either at this. It feels too late. It feels too late.
Yeah. The Twilight Princess HD did release in the last year of the Wii U. It's like, maybe. But I think I've been asking for it for so long that I've just given up hope. But yes. Hype responsibly. That's a very good remark. And we will see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.